And we are live and we are on record. So hello to everybody. I'm super excited about this today, and I'm glad to see so many faces here today. So really looking forward to this. Please let me introduce to you the lovely ladies that I have with me, starting with this lovely lady who is dialing in from Australia. It's the crack of dawn where she is right now. This is Debbie Saviano. Debbie loves people. She is a cheerleader and an advocate for all things social. She believes social media is the ideal conduit to connecting and building relationships around the globe. And she's proving that because she's on the other side of the world right now. Well, Debbie, type in your website for us right now. Okay. And any of you here, please share this with a little birdie and your aunt or your uncle. I don't care. Just bring them on in. Lots of valuable information here today for speakers and aspiring speakers. And that's my goal with Speaker Pro, is we want to get you people familiar with any and all routes possible to help grow your business using your voice. Down yonder here is one of my most favorite people in all of the land, Karen Yankovich. Karen is dedicated to helping entrepreneurs and small business owners use social media profitably. She is a LinkedIn evangelist. Oh, I love that. A LinkedIn evangelist and speaker. And she has the 30-day LinkedIn profile challenge. You want to visit her. She's going to type her website in right now if you want to learn more about that. And I am Joleene Moody. I did not choose that name. I married into it. I'm not always Moody. I'm okay right now. I'm a professional speaker, author, coach, freelance writer. And when I'm not on stage speaking, I'm off stage teaching entrepreneurs like you how to find and create paid speaking opportunities and how to expertly close clients from those rooms with integrity so you work less and earn more. Whew. Humanizing theme. I talk about similar. John says I talk about similar. Good. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for joining us. And we're just going to dive right into it because we want to know, here's what I want to do, ladies. So I'm going to be very clear. I am very detail oriented. And I like steps. And I know a lot of times if people aren't as familiar with LinkedIn as you are, that they may get a little lost or a little blurry. So I'm going to make sure that you're always going to hear me say, talk to me like I'm a fifth grader. So we'll talk about different steps and different techniques. And we're just going to dive in. So LinkedIn, to find speaking opportunities, paid speaking opportunities, say it isn't so. But my friends here today say it is, and we're going to give you the goods so you can learn how and go forth and tackle LinkedIn like never before. So, Karen, I'm going to start with you. Oh, she left us. I'm going to let her back in.
There she comes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but
oh no, that's okay. I mean, this is the internet. It happens.
Yeah.
You know. And Debbie, you can still hear us, right?
So you and I can hear you. Yes. Both of you.
Okay,
yes.
have we have audio on you only, and it may go in and out because you are down under.
Okay.
But I'll start with you, Karen. You are the LinkedIn evangelist. Where do we begin when we want to find organizations? And we're going to talk about organizations that are looking for paid keynotes and organizations that are looking for platform speakers. Where do we begin?
So I'm going to take a step back from that, Joleene, and say, before you begin looking, you need to be sure that when you do these strategies that I'm sure Debbie will talk about and I'll talk about today, you have to make sure that you've already taken the time to have a great profile. And, I get a lot of crap sometimes from
I get a lot of crap.
Yeah, for saying, for being all about the profile. Okay, can we talk about the strategy? No, we can't talk about the strategy until we've talked about the profile. And that's why I created, and by the way, I couldn't put the link in the chat to linkedupin30.com. For some reason, it wouldn't.
It's in there.
It's in there. It's
It's in there.
Did it?
Yeah,
that's funny. Okay. So, and that's why I created that program, because you need to own it as a speaker before you start reaching out. You need to make sure your headline says you're a speaker. You need to make sure you have an experience that lists yourself as a paid speaker. You need to make sure you're starting to accumulate recommendations from places you've spoken at, even if they've been free. You've got to make sure that you're setting the foundation so that when people do check you out, when we do the strategies that I know we'll talk about today, they're going to feel comfortable going that next step with you, right? So that is the very first thing you need to do. And Debbie, I don't know, do you agree with me on that?
You know what, Debbie? Hang up and dial in again, and let's see if we can get you coming in better.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, here, I'll boot you out, but I will
Yeah.
No, okay. I will invite you
So,
back in.
yeah. So that's really the very first thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you look like a paid speaker when you're using LinkedIn to market for these opportunities.
So Debbie, you heard that. She says, make sure your profile is polished. And I think you're frozen. Either that or you're staring at me. So Karen, I'm sad. She was so excited about this.
Me too, Debbie. I hope we can get you on I don't know if there's a way to get on a better internet signal there. Maybe plug in directly to something.
I'd stand on my head if I were you. Always works. Always works. Karen, when you talk about the profile, let's just get very clear on that, because I've heard, we always hear different things and we're always given different pieces of advice. What equates to a jazzed up, crisp profile?
So first of all, there is no right or wrong. Okay. So there's other people may tell you something different than I tell you. That doesn't mean I'm right, they're wrong. It doesn't mean that at all. What works for me and what works for my private clients is to kind of you really have to go out on a limb and really position yourself as if you are expert with the most influential people in your industry. Mm-hmm. So you need to think about who's the most influential people in your industry, who are the big wigs that are getting $10, $20, $50,000 to speak on your topic. And you need to position yourself like you are going to have lunch with them tomorrow, right? That you work together on a regular basis. I don't want you to make stuff up, but I want you to own it, right? You've really got to be confident in your profile. You don't want to say, I can do this. You want to say, nobody does this better than me, mm-hmm. And pick your little niche that you're to talk about and then really kind of hammer it in your profile and put it in your headline. Just because LinkedIn says that you have an all-star profile doesn't mean that anything other than you filled in all the blanks, right? So I'm glad that you filled in all the blanks, but now you got to think strategy. You've got to make sure that you're using the word speaker strategically throughout your profile. So when people search for in my case, a LinkedIn speaker, I want my profile to come up, right? So not only do you need to talk about it in your profile, but you need to make sure that you're using these words consistently throughout your profile. And again, certainly in your headline, so that you get those opportunities, right? And when they come to you, you look like people feel confident taking that next step with you.
So keywords like speaker, keywords like millennial, I understand is a really powerhouse word right now. And when you talk about the profile, and then we'll go to Debbie and get some input. Do you recommend we write it in first person or third person, second person?
Oh.
Again, and Debbie, I don't know if you heard this, there's no right or wrong answer. Okay. I like first person. I like people to feel like they're talking to me and that I'm talking to them. So I like first person. If you have, you're in a really stuffy, high level corporate position, you might be able to convince me that you need to say, Karen thinks that her blah, blah, blah. But other than that, I think first person works for me. And because your goal right here, right, is to make one connection at a time. And I think you can more easily make those connections if people feel like they're talking to you and not somebody else that might have written your profile.
Yeah, I agree with you. Debbie, what say you from down under?
Can you hear me now?
First person, third person, what are some powerful keywords?
Well, first of all, this is the beauty of it. And people always talk about, well, if there's three of you doing LinkedIn, there's no right or wrong, as Karen said. It all depends on the market you're talking to, where you're coming from, and where your skill sets is. Personally, I use second person. I want to have you and your, because I want people to feel like it's them. But as Karen has so eloquently pointed out, you have to speak to who you're talking to. And so you have to know who that is, first of all, so you know you're speaking to them. I also would add another thing. On the banner where you can put pictures, the brain processes pictures 60,000 times faster than text. So put pictures of you speaking in your banner, because then when people hit your profile, they immediately see subliminal messaging that you're a speaker. So I agree with everything that Karen has said, because oftentimes people want all these things, but they haven't told anyone. My background's education, an English and history major, psychology. So understanding that if you have a profile that, number one, is completely full, like Karen said, and has all the right information, but do some things to get people's attention. Do the images. I'm an advocate in the headline of having some capped words. If you look at mine, you'll see LinkedIn speaker, and rocks. Those are 3 things that are capped in my headline, my profile, because when they hit it again, the subliminal messaging. Another thing to think about is uploading your speaker sheets when you can, download, upload, when you can add those things when you've spoken, add those on your profiles. When people go there, they immediately see, hey, my gosh, she's spoken all these different places. So it helps to have, again, the reputation and the credibility and the call to action that you're adding that stuff in there. So people don't think about that sometimes. And again, I agree 100% with everything Karen said on the other things.
Would you say, ladies, and this is just something that came to mind, we look at LinkedIn as the professional social media platform. This is actually going to be very helpful to me. I don't use it the way I should, although after this I probably will. Would you say that organizations are more apt to check LinkedIn before any other social media resource?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's professional.
And I think, yeah, especially if you're a speaker, what am I going to do if I want to hire you to speak, Joleene? I'm going to put Joleene Moody in a search bar,
exactly.
And I'm going to see what comes up about you. And what's going to come up is your LinkedIn profile. So take that opportunity to tell me what you want me to know, right? Take the opportunity, because it is going to come up. So why let them keep digging for more information on
right.
you? You've already given them your website. You've already given them your one sheet. You've already given them some things. Now they're doing some homework, right? They want to see what else they can find out about you. LinkedIn's going to come up.
It's interesting. Evan here is saying he sees it as stuffy. Have you heard that before?
Yes, but here's the thing we have to think about, and Karen's on board when I've heard Karen speak. I've met Karen, so I know we have a lot in common with our thought processes. But the thing to think about, people say, well, it's stuffy or I don't use it. It's not about us. As Karen said, it's about who's checking us out and vetting us. It's about the person going there. So when they go there, people have a first impression only one time. If someone goes to a LinkedIn profile, you can lose a speaking gig because your profile is not what it needs to be. It's imperative. You have to have a strong one. So it's not about us. It's about the person looking at the profile.
That's fantastic. And that's I love that. That's great. So in these first 15 minutes, we have covered that before we decide to go searching, we have to make ourselves look crisp, pristine. We have to use keywords. As Debbie recommended, bold in your title, use pictures, and even upload your one sheet. And if you want to know what a one sheet is, just briefly, it's like a little breakdown resume, if you will, of who you are, where you've been, what you do, what your talks are. So excellent.
And I'd like to elaborate on something Debbie just said, because it's a really good point. And I think it bears kind of repeating an elaboration is you've got to think about who is looking at the profile and what they want. And you need to make sure that you're writing it that way. Nobody cares that you're CEO of your company. Nobody cares that you're an accountant. They want to know what you could do to help them. So you need to make sure when you write your profile that it's client facing. Yes, some of those things, you want to inject things that make you seem influential. Absolutely. But you need to be sure that you're not just trying to puff yourself up like you look like a big deal. Right. You need people to say, I need to talk to her. Yeah. That's your ultimate goal. Not that you want to look impressive, so they want to do that, but there's nobody's searching for a CEO. Nobody's searching for those things. You need to solve their problems. Right. In what you're telling people about yourself.
I'm gonna throw a question in here from, is it pronounced Nathali? And so sorry if I do it wrong. My name is Joleene and people do it wrong all the time. What do you do when event organizers think you should do the gig as part of your personal PR? Oh, I could go on. For free or for very little money, that is. Honey, you are in the right place. I'm going to answer this if I can.
I was going to say that. Yes. Jolene's going to tell you.
Yeah, this is my specialty. It's never black and white. So here is my personal opinion. If someone is asking you to do a keynote typically is defined as a talk where you get paid one lump sum, you should get paid. If someone is asking you to do a platform speech, which is a talk from a conference, often, most 90% of the time, you will hear that you're not going to get paid and your job is to make sure you convert the room. And for anybody that's in here right now, if you visit my website, I have an entire course on converting the room. I have a $4 ebook on how to find and create paid speaking opportunities, and it speaks to this. But to answer your question, in the end, you have to do what's right for you, because I guarantee a large majority of these organizations don't want to pay you. And their favorite thing to tell you is, you know what? You're going to get so much exposure. You're going to get, your left foot is going to shine and your hair is going to look brilliant. And this is going to be amazing for you. And if you know you are in that place and you want to recognize your worth, your response to them should be, I appreciate that. But at this time, I'm not looking for exposure. I have plenty of that. I'm looking to get paid for my professionalism just as you are. So I hope that answers your question. Karen, do you want to dive in?
No, and I would encourage, somebody's asking you, Jolene, to put your link in the chat, and I encourage you to do that. I actually met Jolene from watching her on a blab not even that long ago. And I've gotten some tips from her to help me overcome some of those issues. For example, if you really want $3,000 to speak, and I used this very successfully, probably within days of meeting Jolene, was, okay, well, I'll do it at that price, but then I want referrals. Can you give me 3 referrals to colleagues after it? So I loved that because it was a way to solve their issue, which their budget doesn't match my financial requirements. But it also solves my issue, which is I really need to get that next gig and that next gig and that next gig. So I would say, and I would still potentially, depending on the group, I would still potentially offer to do things if I think that that's a good fit for my business, if they weren't paying me. But I am, definitely moving to an all paid model. So I don't think there's any one right answer there, but I think there's a lot of good, there's a lot of good compromises to that leave you still winning. And you need to be sure. I love that. I love, Jolene, that you say, I've got lots of opportunities for exposure. This is how I earn my living. So that's a great line.
Yeah. I appreciate you pointing that out to me, but I'm not looking for that at this time. This is how I earn my living, blah, blah, blah. Gosh, so many great questions. We've got a lot.
I know. I love it.
Great tip. What about travel expenses? Same thing, my love. You're always going to be in a place where you negotiate. And then someone else, real quick, and I'm going to go back up. Solutions Turk said, is it better to hire a coach or do a profile or just do it yourself? I'd go to Karen or Debbie because honestly, they know what they're doing. I've done my profile myself and I need help with it. That's evident.
Well, here's what I'm going to say to that. I mean, Debbie, I have services, the do-it-yourself that in that link, and you can hire them. I have people that do this directly. Debbie, I know has similar services. Here's the thing. It is not easy to talk about yourself like you're a big deal.
Right.
So if you're having trouble with that, then get help. It's worth every dime to get help with doing that. So coach, I mean, listen, there's coaching, there's, I can do it. There's, there's different levels of that. But the hardest part about writing your LinkedIn profile is talking about yourself like you're a big deal. And often when people do it themselves, so my Linked Up in 30 program, which is, I don't know why you guys say it was in there, but it didn't come up to me, is linkedupin30.com. We actually have a Facebook group that supports that program because often we'll say, pop your headline in the Facebook group and we'll help you rework it because we probably are going to want it to be stronger, right? So even when you think you're doing a good job of really promoting yourself, often you're not, it's not that easy to do, right? So Debbie, what do you think about that?
I'm so sad we're losing our little Australian-bound friend, that we're not able to hear her. But we'll keep going, and I'll keep knocking her out and inviting her back in because her internet is going in and out. Just dropped in Debbie's and Karen's link because some people have asked for it. And going back to, is it Nathali? And you can slap me across the face if I'm saying it wrong. Travel expenses. Never negotiate your services when you're selling your coaching or whatever else you're doing. I stand firm in that. And as, who is it that's up here we've been chatting a little bit. You've got some great points. Nathan, he's a freelance, does freelance writing, same thing. But when it comes to speaking, because the industry has been so skewed with so many speakers stepping up and choosing to do this at no cost, the industry expects speakers to step up and do it at no cost. So unfortunately, you have to negotiate your fee and you have to negotiate amenities around that. You can negotiate travel expenses. I've done that. Hotel rooms. I've gotten free vendor tables. As Karen mentioned earlier, she learned to negotiate just recently to say, I want 3 letters of reference with that. And not just emails, hard copy letters, and they must be delivered within 2 weeks of the said speaking gig, and you have to be CC'd. That way you not only get the letter, you have a reason to pick up the phone and go, oh, hey, Frank, blah, blah, blah. I just got this letter. I just spoke. I'm so grateful they sent this to me. I just want to put myself before you as a potential speaker for any upcoming events. So,
absolutely.
Hey, Bonnie.
And, for me, I don't have as much experience as you do, Jolene, in negotiating this stuff. But for me, I'm picky about my travel. I sometimes want to add a day or two on because I want to see some clients when I'm in the area, depending on when it is. So I like to, when I give a quote, or up until this point, when I give a quote, I say, I'll take care of all my travel expenses. So I know that it's going to be about $1,000 for 2 nights in a hotel room and the plane and whatever. So I make sure I add that to the quote. Now, the downside to that is you may have an event where you may have a person that can get you a hotel room maybe for free. Maybe they have a deal, you know, so maybe I'm missing out on that. But I like to book my own travel because I sometimes like to add on a day or two, or, I like to come in at certain times and leave at certain times. So that's just how I do it. And so far that's pretty much worked for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nathan, you know what? I want to hold that thought because I want to make sure we stay on subject, which is finding gigs through LinkedIn. As far as speaking through webinars, I don't personally enjoy it, but I know there's a million gazillion speakers out there that find it very beneficial and useful. I like the thrill and the high of being in front of a room. So it really, I think, depends on what it is that you want to do. You're welcome, my love. No worries. So moving back into the land of LinkedIn, we've got a clean profile. We're smart. We're powerful. We've reached out to one of you. You've helped us, so we feel confident. Now what?
Okay, so Debbie, if you are there, I don't want to monopolize this, but I also want to make sure that we're delivering what we need to do. So you jump in where you can. Right now, we can't see you again, so I don't know if we can hear you.
I'm sad about that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. There's 2 ways to do this, and I want you to think about this as if you're looking for speaking opportunities. Okay, there's a lot of work you can do with LinkedIn way before, and it might even be the year before, right? So let's say there's a conference, and you see that there's it's November 2015, and we see all these people at a particular conference, right? I would be connecting with the current speakers. I would be connecting with the conference organizers all on LinkedIn, and I would be commenting and saying things like, I loved your talk about this. What a great lineup of speakers to the event organizers, right? Like you can start padding the opportunity a year in advance. Okay, so do some homework and think about what conferences you want to speak at in 2016, and start connecting with the conference organizers and start.
That's great.
I don't want you to start pitching yourself. I want you to start finding opportunities to pat them on the back. You want to make sure your name's in front of them. I quite literally often have a list, and I don't have one right now where I'd show you, of people that I want to get my name in front of. And I'll go into LinkedIn and I'll say, all right, have they commented on anything? Have they posted anything? Can I share their updates? Is there a LinkedIn long form post I can comment on? I want to keep my name in front of people that can help me get that gig that I want to get. And you can start doing that way, way, way in advance of your applying to speak.
Awesome. Debbie, while we have you, do you want to add to that before you disappear? Damn it!
Well, maybe we can hear her. Can you talk, Deb?
I'm talking. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. It's so weird because I can see y'all and everything is working.
Scott says try a different browser.
It's perfect.
He's left us.
Now we can't hear you, Debbie.
Okay.
Hey, Steve, want to pop in for 2 minutes? And that way we can get, I always like to have different perspectives. It works best on Chrome. Debbie, is she on Chrome? I don't know.
Somebody else asked a question earlier, and I thought it was a good question. I don't know why I can't scroll up these questions.
I can't either. Isn't that something?
I know.
I've been
Somebody else asked a question earlier about how can you increase the number of connections, and that is valuable. Increasing your number of connections is the work that you need to do, again, way, way, way up front. And you can do that by getting involved in groups. So think about large conferences often have groups that support the conference. Trade organizations often have groups that support the trade organizations, right? So, hey, Anthony. So get involved in those groups. And when you start to get involved in those groups, your connections will start to grow, especially if you're providing value to the group. So you definitely want to do some work around growing the number of connections, because every connection that you have is another maybe potential lead to a speaking opportunity, a paid speaking opportunity.
Got it. Beautiful. Welcome, Anthony. And thank you for all the tips on how to scroll these But the Blab is changing like every day, you know?
That's why they call it beta. That's why they call it beta.
True story.
No.
So Anthony, you wanted to dive in at a very crucial moment. Do you want to add to this, or what can you offer us?
Well, from a speaking, by the way, thank you for letting me jump in. Hi, Karen. How are you? Joleene, nice to meet you, by the way. Thank you for the follow. I wanted to mention something about a conference, and then I want to jump into LinkedIn real quick. So I'll make two very quick points. One is I was speaking at a solar and finance conference in New York, and I found that each table of vendors is a good opportunity to get a speaking engagement, even though they have a particular product or service. Since you're there either as an attendee or as a potential speaker, you're offering your services to the different vendors, which is one thing that worked well.
Anthony, that's genius. So, and remind me, I want to say something about that. That's genius.
Yeah.
But let's go to point 2.
And then the conference organizers, let's say it's SEPA, SEPA, which is Solar Engineering Power Out of America. They had a table there because there's two types of conferences. They said, listen, have you thought about this, and this? Hey, no. Hey, by the way, I'd like the opportunity to either sit on your panel or provide, tips and tools, education, right? Because education turns into a speaking engagement, which turns into a paid speaking engagement, right? And she goes, Anthony, never thought about that. Fantastic. Here's my contact. Call me. By the way, here's the person that hires the speaker. So you're literally connecting the dots live.
Love that.
Okay. So I think the conferences, for anybody in the room, for the 31 people in the room, if you get anything out of what I say, go to as many educational sessions and conferences as you can, because nobody is tapping into those tables and speaking to the organizers saying, hey, listen, have you thought about? And always make it an educational session, because education turns into profit.
That's excellent.
So here's what I would add to that, Anthony. Again, the LinkedIn brain to that goes, most likely before the conference, you can get a list of those vendor tables. So what I would be doing 2 weeks before the conference is I would have that list next to me, and I'd be following all those companies on their company page. I would be engaging with them. I would see, are there people? Do I know the specific people that are going to be there, and connect with them on LinkedIn? So when you go to that table, maybe 20% of those people are going to say, I know you, were connected on LinkedIn.
That's
right?
fantastic.
So you could do that work, that little bit of prep work ahead of time could make that your success rate in that, Anthony, probably double.
I agree. Let me just get rid of this little window here. I agree 1,000%. Hi, Bonnie. How are you? Thank you for jumping in. So I think the thing that I found, so let's say you visit 100 tables and you get 20%, there's 20 gigs you get. But people don't realize the value of the attendees that are at these conferences. And I don't want to get off the topic of LinkedIn, because that's really where I want to go with this. But if you go to, I have a 5x5 that I do. So I have 5 strategic initiatives that I have for the month, and then I have 5 actions to follow up on them. And I do this every week. Am I meeting red, green, or yellow? What am I meeting? And my goal is I want to attend 6 to 10 conferences a year. And I want to be able to hit each table as much as I can. So I think that's really critical. And we could talk about this forever. The one thing I see on the LinkedIn side that I have not found, and I say this clearly through a personal experience. I've been on LinkedIn for years. I mean, I've been in corporate America for 25 years. I've been a speaker for 5 years. So I've kind of gone through the whole thing. I have not found any success at all in LinkedIn, and I'm dying to hear what the secret sauce is. Because every time I speak to somebody, they want to sell you something. It's not like, hey, let's bond, let's mastermind, connect, let's build. So I'd love to hear the tools and tips and strategies on LinkedIn. So
Anthony, I would say turn that around, man, and say, don't worry about the people that are looking to pitch you, and you look for the people that you're reaching out to. So think about what your strategy is to reach out to people and how you can, that's just the easy answer to your question. Debbie, do you want to see if we can hear you?
Hear me?
Oh.
Evan's put some questions in here that I feel like I've kept him waiting for so long now that I figured out how to scroll. Where did your other question go, Evan? Oh, no, not that one. He's only got 9,875 of them here. What other things can you do to build a following on LinkedIn? And then he added, I speak on financial literacy. Do I join financial literacy groups in LinkedIn?
Yes, you do. And you don't want to go in there and pitch yourself. You want to go in there and provide value in that group. You want your name to come up on a regular basis, and often people will start to connect with you then. Because what's going to happen is they're going to be interested in you based on your answer, hopefully. They're going to check out your profile. We already know you have a kick-ass profile before you start doing all of this, because that's what we started this with. And when they see your profile, they're going to want to connect with you. So that opens up opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you want to take that a step further, one of the strategies that I often use and teach is that if you just do this, right? You have a great profile, and you go into groups and you just say, every day I'm going to go in and I'm going to engage. I'm going to pick these 5 groups, and I'm going to comment on 3 things in the group, right? And you want a group that's active. Local networking groups are also great, right? But definitely, groups that are surrounded around a topic, right? What's going to happen is you're going to see your connections grow. So let's say if you did that, let's say you get 10 new connections a week. You're probably going to get more, but let's say 10 new connections a week. At the end of the week, or on Monday of the following week, if you go into those last 10 connections and just do a little homework on them, spend 10 seconds on their page. I see that you're a CPA. I see that you do this. I see that you're interested in this, right? I'm really happy to be connected with you. Please let me know if I can provide any value. Anybody, connect you to anybody here on LinkedIn or whatever. Just again, you're offering to help them. If you do that to
Karen, can I offer a prescriptive response to that? And this is my.
But I would want you to. Yes, but I want you to customize.
I got a prescriptive response.
Yeah, but I want you to customize it a little bit. And then if they respond back, let's say 6 or 7 of them respond back to you, okay? Because a lot of people will not. Let's say 6 or 7 respond back to you. My next goal is to get them on the phone. My next goal is to say, you know what, we're both in New Jersey, or we have this in common. Would you be available for a 10-minute chat? And that's a sales call. So you can very easily, from that one little strategy of just providing value in groups, and then offer to provide value to the people that connect with you, you can very easily get yourself 2 sales calls a week from that little strategy.
Wow. Excellent. Thank you.
Agreed.
Great tip, Bonnie Frank says. That's my issue. My target market is children, and most don't have LinkedIn, but their moms do.
Yeah, but their parents do.
Their parents do.
So, and
your parents are paying your bill, so they're going to check you out before they let their kid talk to you.
Right.
So
the one thing I wanted to say about the value, and I agree with Karen 1,000,000%. The thing I find that's the missing piece is the deeper dive. I'm all about deep, connected, intimate relationships. I'm this wide and I'm 5 miles deep. That's just how I'm wired, right? It's just how I think as a guy. I want deep, connected relationships. So when you add value, so for example, if you're offering financial services, adding value to someone who's in a financial group would be here's an example. Have you thought about this particular financial strategy for this project you're working on? I found this very helpful for me. Have you thought about it? That's adding value, because rather than saying, how can I help you? It's like walking into a Macy's and say, can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you? Help you? You can do that 100 times and one person will say yes. But if you want to increase your hit rate, as I would say, use a hit rate, you want to increase your hit rate by 50%, rather than walking up to somebody or pinging somebody on LinkedIn, say, listen, I want to connect with you because I think I can add value. Hey, have you thought about this? Goes back to Karen's point. Look at their profile, pick out 1 or 2 things that are going to resonate and say, okay, this person likes this. They're a CPA. As a CPA, I found this article really helpful. How has this helped you? Because it's helped me this way. So what you're doing is you're asking the how. You're not asking give me. You're asking the how, what, where, when, why questions, all about power questions. Because that prompts people to say, hey, no one else is asking me that. Because if you think about it, out of the 100 LinkedIn connections they get, one of them is going to ask those questions. That's going to be you. So,
yeah, well,
I
would agree with you, Anthony. You have to be careful, though, when you do that, because you don't want to be in that list of people pitching on LinkedIn. So you've got to make sure when you're putting that, have you thought about this? Remember, they don't even know you yet. So that's what I love, to go to their profile, see if you can find something of value in their profile, and that you can that connects you. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's that you both like, the New York Jets, right? I don't care what it is. Find something that connects you. Me too. All right. So find something that connects you and use that so that you're establishing a little bit of a relationship. And then, of course, if you have a tip, you absolutely should share that as well. But you need to stand out from the I've got something that can help you crowd. So you've got to
I understand. I
Right.
understand.
Right.
And the thing is, the one thing I see too, and this is so very helpful, by the way. Thank you, Karen, for taking me through that. The one thing I see in LinkedIn is this swelling of noise. Is everyone's got a story about